In one of his letters, Seneca says, "My life has been full of longings, not for things I lacked, but for things I wasted." And I think that's really profound because, yes, we can lament the fact that our time is limited here on earth. But what's more important to acknowledge is that much of the time we waste is simply wasted. Well, the solution seems so simple, right? Stop wasting it. But of course it isn't that simple. So today we're gonna be discussing some tactics that Seneca talks about in his letters that can help us from wasting our lives. This episode is part of a series on Seneca's letters from a Stoic. If you haven't already, I recommend checking out the other episodes before this one. Now, in his letter 74, Seneca addresses his friend Aurelius, who is complaining that his life has been cut short by illness and he is only 38 years old. And Seneca says, "You don't need to feel so badly about having completed only 38 years. Because my life has been full of longings, not for things I lacked, but for things I wasted." Now, the first thing that I love about this quote is that he does not say my life was long or I've lived a long life. Instead, he says my life has been full of longings. He implies that even though he's lived for quite some time, his life has been an exercise in longing, which is kind of mind-blowing. How many of us spend our lives longing for something more when the very thing we're after is just a byproduct of how we live our life? That's worth pondering for a while. So let us break down the idea of longing for what we wasted and see what we can learn from it. I want to start with the example that Seneca gives in this same letter. He says, "What did Pythagoras do? What new discoveries did Archimedes make in the last year of his life? Or what plans did the generals form for future campaigns? None of these men accomplished anything in their final years, but they did squander them." He then goes on to say, "So too, my dear Aurelius, if you look at what you have done, and what you have left undone, you will find nothing that you couldn't have accomplished in 5 or 6 years. Nor do I say this to discourage you, but to rouse you to action. Don't fear the brevity of life, but the life you're wasting." Let's unpack this. The main takeaway here is that we shouldn't fear the shortness of life, but rather the life we're wasting. That's such an important distinction. We can't change the fact that we're mortal. We're going to die someday, but that should actually be something we celebrate, because it reminds us that life is precious and valuable. The Stoics talk about living life on a daily basis, not hourly, but the truth is that we only have so many days on this earth. So many hours and minutes. When we think about this from a broader perspective, we might think, there are so many days ahead of me. I have plenty of time, but at the same time we're wasting those days. We're frittering them away. We're killing time when we could be spending it in accordance with nature, pursuing virtue, being the best version of ourselves and leaving our mark on the world. Instead, we procrastinate. We choose leisure over growth. We choose Netflix over learning a new skill. We choose comfort over contributing to something bigger than ourselves. We choose drama over peace. And in doing so, we're wasting our lives. The realization that we're wasting our lives often comes too late. When we realize that we've spent the majority of our lives preparing for life. Instead of living it, we were told that our 20s were the best years of our lives, but we spend them figuring out what we want to do. We were told that our 30s are the prime of our lives, but we spend them worrying about money, buying a house, having kids. Before we know it, we're in our 40s or 50s wondering where did the time go. We were so focused on getting ahead, on playing the long game, that we forgot to enjoy the journey. We were so focused on accumulating more that we forgot to appreciate what we had. We were so busy looking at the finish line that we forgot to savor each step along the way. Our whole lives were always chasing something that's just out of reach, but once we get it, it doesn't bring us the fulfillment that we thought it would. So we keep moving, keep chasing, keep hustling, trying to outrun the realization that we're wasting our lives. But the truth is, life isn't about the destination, it's about the journey. The sooner we can realize this, the better. So now that we understand that we're wasting our lives, what are we going to do about it? Well, Seneca tells us exactly what to do. Remember what Marcus Aurelius says, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Seneca says, you have to wake up and stop being lazy. In the same letter he says, you need to summon your strength and shake off this sloth, this whole tendency to do less than you can. Just rouse yourself to action. You can still do things, and it's never too late to do them. He then tells Aurelius to write him a letter explaining how he's going to fix his life. And I love this idea of writing down our plan of action, because it is one thing to have a vague notion that we're wasting our lives, but it's another to confront it head-on. By putting pen to paper, we're forcing ourselves to articulate what we're doing wrong and what we plan to do right. Writing is a powerful tool for self-reflection and growth. Epictetus, the former slave-turned-philosopher, used to tell his students that no man is free who is not master of himself. And it's only through the process of self-confrontation that we can become masters of ourselves. So what does that look like? Well, it starts with awareness. We need to be aware of how we're wasting our lives. Are we constantly distracted by social media? Are we spending more time consuming content than creating it? Are we letting our emotions dictate our actions? Are we procrastinating on the things that matter most to us? Once we're aware of how we're wasting our lives, we need to take responsibility for it. This is our life. We're the ones in control. No one else is to blame for our wasted life. And with that responsibility comes power. We have the power to change our lives. It won't be easy. There will be setbacks and obstacles, but we need to summon our strength and shake off this sloth, this whole tendency to do less than we can. We need to keep moving forward, even if it's just one small step at a time. The key is to keep moving. The third step is to forgive ourselves. We all make mistakes. We all waste time. It's human nature. The important thing is to learn from our mistakes and move on. Dwelling in the past won't help us improve. It won't help us make the most of our lives. In fact, it'll probably do more harm than good. We need to forgive ourselves and move forward. Finally, Seneca tells Lucilius to write him a letter outlining the steps he's going to take to fix his life. This is an excellent piece of advice. If you want to make changes in your life, if you want to stop wasting your life, then write it down. Create a plan of action. What are you going to do differently? What steps are you going to take? What habits are you going to change? Write it down and hold yourself accountable. Share your goals with someone else. Or if that's too daunting for you, write a letter to your future self. A letter that you'll read in a few months from now. By writing down our plan of action, we're committing to it. We're holding ourselves accountable, and that will increase our chances of success. In the end, we have the power to change our lives. We have the power to stop wasting our lives. It starts with awareness, taking responsibility, forgiving ourselves and moving forward. And finally, holding ourselves accountable by writing down our plan of action. Life is short, but it's also precious. The sooner we realize that we're wasting it, the sooner we can do something about it. So let's take action today and make the most of our lives tomorrow. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to see more episodes like this in the future, please let me know by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.